Learn how to build the basic HTML structure for our weather app. In this lesson, we want to start building our weather app from scratch. And we are going to start by building the HTML structure. So we're going to be creating the input field, the search button, and the areas where the weather information will be displayed. And we're also going to be adding a couple of styles in order to make our HTML structure attractive. And also note that before JavaScript can display weather information, we actually need a place on the web page where the information will appear. And that is the purpose of the HTML build that we want to look at together in this particular lesson. So let's move on. Just note that from now on, the weather information will just be placeholder. After building the structure, that is when we begin to apply JavaScript to make it dynamic. So let's move into our HTML file, which is this. And I've already added a link to an external JavaScript file, which is at the bottom before the close body tag. So I'll move inside this p tag because this p tag, that's an idea of demo, is this space from my web page. And I'm going to go ahead and add a div inside of it. And inside this div, let's add an input field. So let's add an input field. And this input is going to have a type. And that type is going to be set to text. Then let's add an ID and set it to city. And let's add a placeholder and call it enter city name. And then let's close the input. So now we have our input. Now let's add a search button as well. Just come down, and for this search button, we are going to make it in form of a button. So let's add a button and let's give it an ID of search button, search BTS. And inside it, let's add this text of search. So now we have our search button. Now that we have that, let's come down here. Let's add the div again. And inside this div, I want to add a class rather. So let's add a class to our div. And let's give it a class name of results. Inside this div, let's add a p tag. And let's give it an ID of city name. And inside the p tag, so let's add city and put a placeholder like this. So we've added city. So let's add temperature following the same process. We give it an ID of temperature. And then let's add temperature. Now let's add weather, P with an ID of weather. P with an ID of weather. And inside it, let's add weather. So another thing we want to add is humidity. So let's give this an idea of humidity. And inside this, we have humidity. And lastly, an idea of wind speed. So an idea of wind. Editor is misbehaving, so let me add it manually. ID equals to wind. And inside this, then I can have wind speed as the text. So let me refresh and see what we've gotten so far. So we have an input field, we have a search button, then we have city, temperature, weather, humidity, as well as wind speed. So now that we have this, let's quickly add few styles as well. So I'll go into my style file and I want to start adding style. So the first thing I want to start is the input field. So I don't need a width. I instead need padding of 10 pixels. Then the margin button of 10 pixels as well, and box size border box. Now let me go ahead and style the button. So the button should have a padding as well. Padding should be 10 pixels. I want it to be long, so let me make it like maybe 10 pixels, 20 pixels. So let me try this. I think I like it like this. I also want to add cursor so that currently if I put mouse on it, you can see my cursor is showing. But I want the cursor to show like a hand, like a pointer. You can see when you put it on it, it shows like you are pointing a finger at something. And also let me start the last ID, which is results. And for this results, let me just add margin of 10 pixels and that's all. So I only want to start the input field and the button as well as this particular ID of results that contains all other things that we have here. So now you can see we have successfully built the HTML structure that our weather app needs by laying everything one after the other. We have added an input field where the user will type the name of a city and a search button that user will click to get the weather. Below that, we have created 5 paragraphs that eventually display the city name, temperature, weather condition, humidity, and wind speed. So right now you will see that each paragraph contains placeholder text using 2 dashes because we haven't connected our app to a weather service yet. So this is how the structure of our weather app is going to look like, and we have successfully built it from scratch using a combination of HTML and CSS.